The top 5 quarterbacks in the draft were Lawrence, Wilson, Lance, Fields, and then Mac Jones. There was another guy there that was drafted by the Texans in the 3rd round. It was Nick Casario's first pick because the Texans didn't own a first rounder or second rounder. And he picked Davis Mills, quarterback out of Stanford. He played in a pro-style drop-back system at Stanford. And he's been the guy who's been kind of under the radar. The Texans dominated the Chargers. They shocked them. They're on a 2-game winning streak. And Mills, for the season, has a completion percentage of 66%. He's thrown for 2,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Do you think Davis Mills' rookie season has been overlooked thus far?
To a degree, I'd say yes, just because think about the shoes that he had to fill with Deshaun Watson being the franchise guy and all the terrible things that had happened this offseason. Whoever was stepping into that spot the following season was going to be under a lot of pressure because you're following one of the top 5 guys in the league, in my opinion, when he's on the field, the number 1 talent at the quarterback position. Now, you have to step in, be a rookie, filling in the basically impossible shoes to fill in Deshaun Watson, and he's been more than serviceable in his rookie season. Again, 12 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. That ratio is clean, especially given the fact that Brandon Cooks is his only true wide receiver option. I mean, you had this past game where Brevin Jordan, Moore were his 2 options. Chris Conley was another option of his. Brevin Jordan's an exciting player, actually. He
just can't block.
That is an issue of his, but he's got some good footwork. He's got some decent hands. He's a solid option for sure.
I wanted the Jets to draft him.
He was like a 4th-round pick.
But it's being slept on because, again, the big deal coming into this draft were the 5 quarterbacks. Like you mentioned, Trevor, Zach, Trey, Fields, Mac. That's all people could talk about. Mills wasn't even a thought. More often than not, you're a quarterback not selected in the 1st round. They don't really care about you until you show something, which Mills has shown us something. And putting up a game against a solid secondary in the Chargers, who did have Derwin James, who did play in this game, who did end up being able to suit up, and coming out with the win, throwing for over 250 yards, having 2 touchdowns, not turning the ball over, really taking control of this game, putting the exclamation point on this game to close it out, to put the Chargers away. You got to give credit where credit is due. He's outperforming guys like Justin Fields, to a degree, your boy Zach Wilson, to a degree, Trevor Lawrence. He has better numbers than these guys, at least, whether these guys show a little bit more than Mills or not. But Mills really hasn't been given the full keys because, again, Tyrod Taylor's in that quarterback room, and he's a veteran, and he should have a hold of that main QB1 status. But Davis Mills has come in and suddenly put a shock in that plan, and he's been borderline great for the Texans.
Yeah, I was surprised by this pick when they drafted him, honestly. The Texans had 1,000 holes, and maybe it was just me. This was after. We knew this was Deshaun after the allegations, I believe. But I just thought they were going to go in a different direction. I was like, you have Tyrod there. Maybe you go in a different direction. Just have Tyrod there for a season, deal with quarterback another time. But Davis Mills has stepped in and played really well. Like you said, if you compare him to those other quarterbacks, he's damn near playing better than all of them statistically, probably outside of Mac. But I think we should have saw this early, and it got severely overlooked, was Week 5 against New England.
Correct.
Like, how do you go against Bill Belichick's defense, 21 for 29, 312 yards, and 3 touchdowns? That's something that rookie quarterbacks, never do. Zach definitely doesn't do it, and basically every rookie quarterback we've ever had didn't do it.
Correct.
Josh Allen did. This is something that is unprecedented for rookie quarterbacks to be able to go against a Pats defense and really look that good. His first 3 weeks of the season, he struggled, which, his first 3 weeks, you have a really just divided. I don't know if the locker room's divided, but, you have all this info with Deshaun going on. Is he going to get traded? Is he going to play this year? Tyrod's in and out of the lineup. So his first 3 weeks, I kind of not throw out, but I'm not as interested. But once he has that Week 5 game against New England, he started 7 games since then. In those 7 games, he's averaged 256 yards per game, including 3 games of 300-plus yards, 10 touchdowns, including 4 multi-touchdown games, and only 4 interceptions, with only 1 multi-interception game and 4 games of 0 interceptions. So overall, he's been playing really clean and not only playing mistake-free football, but he's having big games of these 300 yards, of these 2+ touchdowns. If you compare him to Joe Burrow's rookie season, he's averaging just 10 less passing yards than Joe Burrow, but less interceptions, and more touchdowns per game. So I'm not saying he's going to be Joe Burrow or even in his tier, but does he deserve to be the starting quarterback next year? At the bare minimum, be in competition to start? Absolutely. You look at this Texans team, they still have a bunch of holes, everywhere. Like, you could pick any position on this team outside of maybe left tackle, and you need to go and get a guy. Receiver stands out, huge, because outside of Brandon Cooks, who might be a free agent, might have 1 year left, they need weapons. Brevin Jordan's a nice piece, but look at this running back room. You got Rex Burkhead out here giving you 100-yard games. They need help in a lot of places. And the fact that Davis Mills is being able to do this, play really well, have these huge games that we don't really see from any of these rookie quarterbacks, has to mean something.
I'm not as high on Davis Mills as probably the populace is. I know he's having a good little stretch. Over the past 3 games, he has 5 touchdowns to 1 pick, 105 passer rating. He's played well, and he's shown improvement. I think what this means is the Texans don't have to reach for a Malik Willis or a Matt Corral or none of those quarterbacks. They can stick with Davis Mills. Davis Mills played in a pro-style offense at Stanford. Davis Mills, had he chosen to stay at Stanford and play this season in college, would have been a first-round pick in this year's draft, but he chose to leave a year early, was a third-rounder, got selected by the Texans. So Davis Mills isn't a guy void of talent. Like, he has some talent, and he made some big-time throws. Against the Chargers, listen, I'll say this. Did the Texans beat the Chargers because of Davis Mills? Absolutely not. This was just an all-around great game from the Texans. They had a 100%. Defensive touchdown late in the game, desperation time. They got a pick on Justin Herbert early in the game. They forced a fumble on Justin Jackson at midfield that put them in perfect scoring position. Their defense came to play. At first, they were getting gashed in the running game, but after a while, they were getting better at it. Desmond King had 10 tackles facing his former team in the Chargers, and the running game was going. The Chargers, for as much improvement that they've shown over the past couple of weeks in their run defense, all of that is out the window now.
100%.
The Texans were gashing the Chargers. Rex Burkhead, you laugh and you're like, oh, Rex Burkhead's giving you these games. Rex Burkhead looked like a Pro Bowler versus the Chargers.
He looked great.
Rex Burkhead was breaking tackles. He was great in the open field. Royce Freeman had some big time runs as well. Bro. Like, the Chargers just got beat. I don't think this was a surprise game. They came out of nowhere. No, the Texans, for whatever reason, just played great football, even with a lot of key guys missing, like Brandon Cooks was missing. They just played great football. In saying that, like, Davis Mills, when I was watching the game, in my notes, I wrote quick decisions, making great throws. He was just getting the ball out early. A lot of his throws were quick and short outside of these 2 major bombs that he threw. One was to Chris Conley for a touchdown. Basically, this is the gist of it. They were at the 1-yard line. They were starting at their own 1-yard line, and Davis Mills threw 2 passes. And one of them, I'm trying to find it here where I wrote it.
Dorsett? That catch over the shoulder. That
one
was
of them,
ridiculous.
One of them was like a 37-yard pass to Dorsett. The other one was like a 43-yard pass to Chris Conley for a touchdown. And they were strikes. The one he threw to Dorsett was blanketed, but Davis Mills threw it on his outside shoulder, and he was able to go and track the ball and catch it. And those were big time throws. And that was a touchdown before the half that gave the Texans some momentum. The game was close until Justin Jackson fumbled at midfield, and then the Texans basically ran away with it. I thought it was all around a great performance. And when talking about Davis Mills, we can talk all about, maybe these teams just missed on him, but I think it's just been Pep Hamilton. I think Pep Hamilton has been one of the coaches that has deserved a head coaching job for a long time. You look at it, the NFL right now is in love with offensive guys. Specifically, the NFL is in love with guys who can groom a young quarterback. What better guy than Pep Hamilton? Pep Hamilton coached Andrew Luck in college. Then he went to Indy. Was his quarterback's coach there. We all know Andrew Luck turned out great, even though he probably would have turned out great anywhere he went. But in 2014, Pep Hamilton was the Colts offensive coordinator, and in that year, Luck put up his best season. 40 touchdowns, 4,761 yards. He had an MVP-like season. Then he goes to the Chargers just last year. Was Justin Herbert's quarterback coach. What did Herbert do? He set every single rookie record there is to break. And now this year with Davis Mills, he's their quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator. And Pep Hamilton has done an amazing job developing Davis Mills. Pep Hamilton deserves a head coaching job because he has the resume. When you compare his resume to guys who have gotten hired in the past couple of years, his resume not only stacks up, but is better than a lot of these guys. He deserves a job, and I think he's been one of the main reasons why we're seeing Davis Mills develop. Because in the first half of the year, he wasn't good. That Patriots game, he played well, but it was an anomaly. And it hasn't been until recently where he's been consistent. And I think that's a credit to Pep Hamilton.
So do you think, you said you're not as high as consensus, at least on Davis Mills. What do you think his, maybe not his ceiling, but what do you see him as? Like a borderline starter, a backup type guy? Or do you think he could be, someone like I don't want to say Tyrod. I don't think he'll ever be Tyrod, but, someone that could like bounce around teams but could start for you?
I think he's a starter.
A starter?
I think he's a starter.
Like below average starter? Like what are you?
I can see Sam Bradford.
Interesting comp. Okay. Because, I think he could definitely start, especially on the Texans next year, who are going to have 100 holes. They're probably going to trade Deshaun. I mean, we'll see what happens, but try to get some sort of draft compensation for him and then go let Davis Mills start and figure out the rest of the team, because I think he's more than capable of being a bridge quarterback, and potentially, who knows what happens another year or two from now.
Ball placement is very, very hard to come by, and he's got it. His ball placement is not bad by any means. He can drop it right on the dime whenever you need to, especially on the deep ball. So for something like that, he definitely could be a starter. I'm not saying he could be a primetime starter. I'm not saying that he's an all-star.
Can he be Tua?
No, absolutely not. Come on.
The most accurate quarterback in the NFL?
Come on.
No way.
Come on. And Tua wins, so.
I don't know. I saw Davis Mills make a lot of those 4 or 5 yard passes Tua loves to make.
No, I'm not even joking anymore. Davis Mills, Mills made some very nice throws. Very nice throws. Yeah. That pass to Dorsett was absolute cash, and that pass to Conley was perfectly in stride. That the corner was playing perfect coverage, and he still fitted in perfectly in that window. Yeah,
I think Davis Mills can be a good quarterback in the NFL. And like I said before, this is a perfect situation for the Texans. Nick Caserio had no picks. This was his first pick in the 3rd round. And if you drafted a starting quarterback with your first pick without having any picks in the first 2 rounds, I mean, that is a win of a draft. And now these upcoming years, they're going to have their picks. And this roster is going to have some major turnover. Most of these guys are on 1-year deals.
Yeah,
they signed a bunch of them on 1-year deals, and they've been playing better. They matched their win total from last year. Now it's with Deshaun. They've been playing better, but this roster is probably going to look way different next season just because so many guys are on 1-year deals.